Hi, my name's Cucaburr, and I'm giving a talk on Joyce's Finnegans Wake. It's basically page 271, where it says Sire, Jeallyous, Caesar. And so I'll just begin. For a very long time, I was confused with the section in Shem's Finnegans Wake having to do with hirelings' puny wars. How could the great Sire Jeallyous Caesar have anything to do with all the sin talks and the dunk of subjunctions, duel with duel, prude with puerile? I dare say I went to the ultimate foal. I was the guest of ination trying to figure it. And how could there be so much meaning in the word come abbreviation COD, COD? It all seems so pat. Quite frankly, it took me Trent, that is approximately 28 years to solve it. After a passage pertaining to Attila, that is little father, in his pursuit of panhysteric woman, there follows a section comparing the relations between the sexes to grammar. It is both ingenious and succinct. The passage then goes on to say, quote, "One hath just been a reading, hath not one, in their memoirs, moira is Greek for fate, of hirelings' puny wars, and so and all, gaga of," end quote. Now, right away, we have a reference to the Punic Wars, and this war is between, ostensibly, the five bloods of Ireland. But it's not exactly the five bloods, the O'Neill, the O'Brien, the O'Connor, the O'Loughlin, and the MacMurrough. Shem lists instead the O'Brien, the O'Connor, the McLaughlin, and the McNamara, perhaps one for each county. Why the difference? Pish pa, that is, I don't understand. Anyway, they war together with their appanage, or penis, which Shem calls Sire Jeallyous Caesar, that gamely Torskmester. Torsk is Danish for cod, cod being another word for scrotum, as the penis is master of the scrotum. The duel of druidices in ready money rompers which follow, totis testes quotis questis, I take to be the testes. More than that I do not know. As for the triumvirate, perhaps it is the possible outcome of any emission from the cod as represented by a kind of abstract history through Octavius, Lapidus, and Malthus Anthony, which is a pun for the second triumvirate of Octavius, Lepidus, and Mark Antony. What they are, quote-unquote, trying on is the Caesar phallus. In the column to the right of this paragraph appear the words omen, onus, and obit. Omen pertains to Octavius becoming emperor. The pun Octavius is to steal the ox or bull. The bull symbolizes law, as with the end of the Republic and the dawn of the Empire, Octavius filched a bit of the law thereof. Omen or Octavius pertains to a kind of emission in which the emission is blessed or condemned. Either way, there is foreknowledge of the issue. Before the coupling, it is awareness before burden. This foreknowledge is akin to stealing, quote-unquote, the law from God. Now, onus pertains, if nothing else, to the weight of Lepidus's ignominy. And as for the meaning of the pun, Lapidus, well, re ipse loquitur, that is, the thing speaks for itself, as Lapidus is another word for, is a connotation of stone and weight. Therefore, we have the weight again of ignominy. Lapidus, or onus, is thus simply bearing the owner of the load, burden before awareness, like an unexpected pregnancy. Rape would also fall under this rubric. I'm out of my depth when it comes to deciding for a rape victim what she shall do with her issue. Are there some crosses we can choose not to pick up? Spilled seed is tantamount to lying, but rape is the greater lie as it robs a sexual act of its due intimacy, its due love. I once heard a Russian say, "Truth without love is a lie." As for obit, it transpiciously pertains to Antony's suicide. The pun Malthus Anthony is about wine, women, and song, through which one loses one's sense of responsibility and leads to careless sexual activity. Therefore, concerning emissions, Malthus Anthony is onanism, or spilled seed, and its death. This is to evade responsibility, as when Mark Antony fled the battle of Actium. It is the lie of the layout. Suetonius wrote a biography of the Caesars. Suetus is a participle meaning accustomed to. Shem changes Suetonius to Suetonia, of an epicene nature. Quote, But the reflections which recur to me are that so long as beauty life is body love, and so bright as mutual of your mirror holds her candle to your caudal, lone left hand lightless, sombering autumn of your spring, reck you not one spurt of aniseed, whether trigomelamon, cuddle is coddle or nope, end quote. Trigomelamon means three twins and refers to the quote-unquote triumvirate. This also glosses on the Messiah and the two thieves crucified. The passage seems to mean that if the memory of Suetonia in the mind of the twins holds a candle to that other aspect of women, alcohol, then let not that memory lead unto ejaculation of any seed which only leads them on, whether any of the twins fondle themselves or not. As to the next sentence, Shem says Suetonia will lead you on, goad you on to the point of purple passion, but deny it to your face. The deleterious effects of onanism is evident in Mark Antony's speech from Shakespeare, where he states, quote, I came not to praise Caesar, but to bury him, end quote. Shem purported that the genitals were the seat of the soul, and although masturbation does not castrate physically, it does so psychically, and abuses the penis, not to mention the scrotum. Masturbation, however, isn't the only form of onanism. There is nocturnal emission and quote, pulling out, end quote. The former is innocent, the latter disingenuous, if not false. Now as experientia docet, that is, as experience leads, and I know that gamely Torskmester Caesarov for what he is, I can look back and see that my onanism was due to the fact that I had not attained the eclectiactics of Hippo. Hippo is in Greek for a horse, and the horse represents carnal understanding. Anyhow, as for Cleopatra, Shem speaks of thy hose's history, referring, of course, to her nose's history, and the line from Pascal's Pensées, quote, Cleopatra's nose, had it been shorter, the whole face of the earth would have changed, end quote. Here meaning, if her sleeping arrangements had changed, history would have been different, as Shem compares her to Cleo, the muse of history. The patria here is Rome and or Ireland and or Egypt. Now, Cleopatra comes from Egypt, the land of the mastaba tomb and the Heliopolitan mystery of Atum. Both carry overtones of masturbation and onanism, which Ka knows bears a similarity to Malthus anthony. This is how our patria, Ireland, wakes up sensually, not through a Planned Parenthood, but through Irish Frisky, the glad royalties of Charles Stuart Parnell, the uncrowned King of Ireland, with Kitty O'Shea, spilled seed. Around this time of Victoria were other Inishmen on the libido, like Danny O'Connell with his Romeo-Canelic relations, although they were perhaps more like Lapidus, as well as Oscar Wilde. Cleopatra was lover to both Caesar and Mark Antony. Caesar and Cleopatra could represent actual ideal physical lovemaking, and Antony and Cleopatra spilled seed. When Caesar loved Cleopatra, he was loving the world. He was jealously seizing Ireland herself, the country of the old, Ulstria, Monaster, Lenenstar, Connecticut. More than just Roma, he was seizing Amor, and ultimately he was loving and seizing Africa and Egypt. The coupling of Caesar and Cleopatra was purely in the moment, but they were ready for any forthcoming progeny. The irony is that the mating wasn't necessarily that of animus and anima. That comes later with Antony. Go figure. Thus is Cleopatra's Hosey's history. New paragraph. Now, in considering Cleopatra, or the muse historical of our land's country, we use the calembours or in puns thereof provided by the cutter of the reed. Now, when considering Cleopatra, or the muse historical of our land's country, we use the calembours and puns thereof provided by the cutter of the reed, Shem, to fight the powers of the air and deflect podzor, which is Polish for attention or shame, from the erogenous. As Kierkegaard says, the prodigious contradiction that the immortal spirit is determined as genus, that is, something birthed, is for the spirit both beautiful and comic. And now, through mood-molded, cycle-wheeling, merry-voicing history, Shem gives us Hamilcars of parish funds to wield or fight hirelings' puny wars, which can be both beautiful and comic. Us, then, Finns again, can struggle with some dar appendage, Sire Jeallyous Caesar, that is, with our penis. The Phoenicians wake as we think of eternal Rome and shrink from shirtiness to shirts. Shirts is German for apron, and shirts is Dutch for joke. So again, you have the comic reaction of the spirit to the erogenous, but also it can be beautiful as well. Freud too was interested in the house of Barca. It was Hannibal's walk. It was Hercules' work, and 100,000 of the unemancipated slaved away. Hanno o non hanno excel problemos. Hanno is Italian for they have. Non hanno is Italian for they do not have. Excel problemos. Hanno is also a Phoenician navigator, I believe, who sailed around the side of Africa. Shem also lets us know what traits are passed on through the scrotum or cod, as well as what may befall a soul in his or her incarnation, which is a cod in itself, it is a joke in itself. Enough to make heavenly buddy laugh or the funst man of Danelaw grin at its mystery. It would seem almost pat if it wasn't part and parcel of cod's cradle. But we get our word worths. Now this part I don't fully understand. I aver it, I pretend it, I behaud it, but I really am out of my depth. Perhaps, I mean, Yeshua became the Son of Man, and perhaps he is in us when we ejaculate or commit gladroleries, as it were. But anyhow, apparently these things are passed on through the scrotum into a woman. And that's my canter the quasi anyway, as I forestand this passage. So for C, one is granted a concomitance of courage, counsel, and constancy. Omen, onus, and obit pertain not only to a man's emission, as we were talking about earlier, but to the life of said issue. So omen would be the degree and kind of renown which befalls a person. Onus would be the measure of responsibility devolved upon someone in his or her life. And obit would be the circumstances surrounding his or her death. This is just my wild guesses, you might say. As for D, danger, duty, and destiny are distributed throughout a life. So one is given a concomitance of courage, counsel, and constancy to face his or her omen, onus, and obit, danger, duty, and destiny. It seems we are given quite the blinking point, not only of copulation, but of creation. However, like all mysteries, this information is useless to us. I mean, not completely useless to us, but it seems man is ignorant of what happens to him, but learns as he goes through a kind of alethiometry. We learn after the fact. Aletheia is a Greek word for truth, and it means not Lethe. The river of Lethe means oblivion, that we according to the myth, we drink from the river Lethe, or oblivion, before we're incarnated. And then once we're born, we learn the truth, and we learn about our past incarnations from learning or about the world about us. So anyhow, this is the best I can do, is that this notion of cod is, we learned about our, we inherit, from what I can understand is the cod of our father implants these traits in us as far as concomitance of courage, counsel, and constancy. But what I don't understand is how these things which seem to come at us from the outside can be implanted at us from the inside. And then I'm thinking also of how in Yeats's The Vision, where he says that ultimate reality is actually a sphere, and it seems to move around us, but actually we move around it. So it's a combination of the two, I guess, but I'd be interested in finding out what other people have to think about this. So anyhow, so there you have it. It may be the mortification which is my fate, but since my say-when brothel and feed hop and jollity taught me what's what about myself, raising syringe with twin feeders, I'll never hear the words Hail Caesar quite the same again. Das is a das. Toots pardus old solve humor, but loud heap miseries on us and entwine our hearts with laughter's low. Toots pardus old solve humor is from the French. All is lost except for humor, taken from, I think, a French general, who said, all is lost except for honor. And ending, the fiduciary aspect of COD, cash on delivery, must be averred. This relates to Caesar's munificence, his prodigality in buying his way to power. This refracts even unto the Messiah, who said, give with the cod and money, as if Caesar, that gamely Toastmaster, not only is the author of our priapic urges, but also holds the purse strings, and this our rates of fierce marchands. So the text continues, if you're not ruined by that one, she won't do you any whim. That is, if she doesn't elicit orgasm, then you keep your equanimity. And then, what afters it? Gruff gun may blow, game gonna flow, the Gossens eye, the Jennings eye. From the butts of Aber and Aramon, Nolans, Volans, brood our pansies, Brune and Broom. There's a split in the infinitive, from to have been, to will be. As they warred in their big innings, ease now, we never shall know. So as, end quote. So as plays are performed and girls tease us and battles wane, we fall to brooding. And there is a split in the infinitive of the verb to be when you insert the infinitive of the verb to have before the verbs to have been and to will be. To have is to know, and from Aletheia we know that to have is to have been, and confidently we will be. Yeah, I mean, again, it's the whole business of Aletheia. You know, you learn that you have been when you learn, and then you can be. And as these dramas and battles and affairs ebb, we really don't know their beginnings. So we eat of the earth apples of knowledge and coax the cobra of intellect. Parenthetically, on Pharaoh's crown there is a cobra on his visor, which can symbolize intellect in its quickness of address. And listen to Heva. The text continues. This quick quote, this is the glider that gladdened the girl, that listened to the wind, that lifted the leaves, that folded the fruit, that hung on the tree, that grew in the garden Goth gave. End quote. The glider here is perhaps again Sire Jeallyous Caesar, the snake, as penis. The girl, ALP, Anna Olivia Pluribel, that's the female archetype of the book. That's the girl. The wind, the words of the wake, the fruit, the knowledge thereof. The tree could be Shem himself, and the garden Goth gave is the Punjab of India, which I think he was some kind of a officer in the English army, and he won the Punjab region of India for England. And that is a symbol of Eden, or Aaron even. So Goth is similar in sound to guff, which according to the OED, guff is empty talk, nonsense, stuff, blather. And this could be construed as a speech of any soldier serving the croon in India, or the crown in India. It implies that at base, it is guff or nonsense that lays the groundwork for any romance, knowledge, or empire. So to proceed, quote, wide hiss, we're wisening. We're wissen is German, for we know. It's good to be remembered that even the Messiah compared himself to a snake. Also, again, the cobra symbolizes our intellect. Who's from? We're globing. From is German for pious. We're glauben is German for we believe. According to who it is, we piously hear and believe an empire our outermost. We globe. Then the text continues. Why hidest thou hinder thy husband his name? Leda Lada, a flutter afraida. So does your girdle grow. A woman goes in overlusting fear of her husband's, that is her married name, and speaks accordingly. Willed without witting, world without aim. This too makes a Slavic goddess. Papa Passos, Mama Manette. This touches on Browning's Pippa Passes, like Sean the Post, painting the town a wearing green riding huge, scuttering gold, and impacting people in various ways. Also, Passos is Portuguese for footsteps. While Mama remains. Hashem says, I wonder if she'll love Sigurd less to leave room alone. That, I don't know, that doesn't bear explaining. War what's woot and who what's why. Again, here we have the woot, which is German for rage, to compel the heroes of war horror into battle. Here, where the war is in words and the wood is the world. And as to who what's why, Mammalujo at the inquest, that is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, at the inquest answer John's question of why with before you. That is, all of humanity that has come before us is the answer to impel us onto our duty. Pretty heavy. So tails for toughs and titties for toddies and cum buckets, cum bats till delete. That is, it's penises for boys and tits for girls, which keep us titubante, that is, hesitating. Making love can baptize like buckets of water, and titubante, that is, hesitating, should keep us on our toes if we need to be battle ready. Also, bats eat insects, which symbolize fornication. All this is done till daylight or sleep. So there you have it. The main gist of this literary archaeology is the undiscovery of the appanage of the O'Brien, the O'Connor, the McLaughlin, and the McNamara. Although the actual Flybloods of Ireland are, according to McHugh, the O'Neill, the O'Brien, the O'Connor, the O'Loughlin, and the McMurrow. The reason for this discrepancy eludes me, but one thing is sure: Shem uses the German verb mitsamt, together with. They do not fight against Sire Jeallyous Caesar, the penis, but with him it. As the five bloods of Ireland, who here represent mankind, are erring, human, and condonable. It is the good fight. God knows I've used a lot of guff to get my way with a maid, to make a place as opulent as India, to make a way for Caesar, only to become a reticent of England. Another thing I've learned is that to spill seed is to lie. It is to bear false witness. The Messiah had two witnesses to his gospel, the Father and the Paraclete. So the Jellybags has two witnesses, the testes, who witness before good, or God, each time a man spills his seed. It's a false affirmation before the law. None of this, however, is as bad as rape, the ignominy of Lapidus, where there is no love in the act of copulation. It too is a false affirmation before the law, falser than onanism, as it enslaves the soul of the victim. Love in the face of this act takes tantum ergans, that of a saint. The first witness next to God, however, is woman. She witnesses first, as she is a passive participant in lovemaking. Perhaps that is why Shem would seem to call the testes Caesar's duo of druidesses and ready money rompers. Either that or they are the ovaries. Due to the circumstances of my youth, I had to fornicate to invoke grace and carnal understanding, the bred chestviousness of the sweet ovular dukos. That's from the Russian Proshestvy Svyatogo Duka, the procession of the Holy.
Originally lost.
Okay, so all right, so where should I start? Does it matter? Or? Okay. Due to the circumstances of my youth, I had to fornicate to invoke grace and carnal understanding. The brechestviousness of the sweet ovular dukos. That's a pun on the Proshestvy Svyatogo Duka, which is a procession of the Holy Ghost. But Shem makes it the brechestviousness of the sweet ovular dukos, which is basically woman. Various parts of the woman's body, which he makes to be the procession of the Holy Ghost. And if not the Ramsky Kotelecher Skither Zerkovs, which is after the Russian Rimsky Kotel. Okay. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong page. Okay, and if it's not the brechestviousness of the sweet ovular dukos, it's the Ramsky Kotelecher Skither Zerkovs, which is a pun on the Russian Roman Catholic Church in Russian, which is the Rimsky Kotelichesky Zerkovs, which is a pun on masturbation, basically. Pelagius believed, however, that a man could attain paradise simply by following the law. The law, however, says nothing on fornication, to my knowledge. What you do is your business, but for me, I fell under the conquest of words law, through which I fight for my freedom. No man liberty is. That's has many meanings, meaning like the moral man is free. No is NOH, taken from the morality plays of Japan. And then finally, and the virtuous man is the faintest of our true fallacies. And so with that, I'll end. Thank you.